Okay guys, sorry the Zoom didn't work out. Things sort of got a little hectic with it, so hopefully we can go back and sort of figure things out. So I was hoping to get a little bit of, be able to talk to you guys and hear you guys talk back to me. Maybe by next week we'll be able to hammer out the details in it. So, but tonight, hopefully you guys can join in, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. The reason why I didn't want to do it on a live feed because I was sort of worried about it going out to everybody. But hey, it's a good time. So tonight we're going to do the fall pork. Like I said, it's a sort of unconstructed pork loin. So we'll go ahead and jump in. The biggest part of this is just trying to get all of the prep work done. And so we'll get started into that, get the prep work out of the way, and then we'll get cooking. So if you guys can think of any other platform in order to use besides Zoom, and everyone has that opportunity to build on that, just let me know. And we'll look towards that maybe in the future. So again, I'm hoping to do this weekly until we can get things back to normal, or a new normal for us, I guess, and get back together again. So it'll be a fun time. So first things first, I washed my hands. The first thing we have to do though whenever we're cooking in the kitchen is something called mise en place. And mise en place is a French term which means everything in its place. So we've got our onion, we've got our apples, which I've previously washed. And over here on the stove top, we've got our two chartreuse, which is a high wall frying pan. We've got our big wooden spoon, which is awesome for roux and different things along those lines. Because once you start cooking, you can just leave that right in the pot or the pan, and it's not going to hurt the spoon. So you don't have to worry about melting that down. So I've got my spatula, which we're going to be using over here with our apples and onions. We've got our honey. We've got our cinnamon, salt, and pepper. So all in all, it's a relatively easy menu to do, recipe to follow. Like I said, the biggest part is just trying to get everything prepped. So we're going to go back over here. We're going to dice some things up. Whenever you're in the kitchen working, remember to always dice your fruit and vegetables first, and then your meats last. That way you don't have to worry about cross-contamination. So I'll take out a French knife, and this is a set which my mother-in-law got me for Christmas, and my father-in-law, which is awesome. I use it almost every single day. So we'll take the butcher still, and we'll sharpen that knife up. And in between uses, what happens is you'll get barbs on the edge of the knife, all right? So that sort of dulls the blade down. So between your professional sharpenings, you should always use a butcher steel in order to take those barbs off to keep a very sharp knife. And the sharper the knife is, the more confidence you'll get because it's easier to cut. So holding the knife, of course, we're going to go in here and we're going to cut straight down through the middle of the apple, all right? And then we'll set it down on the flat side, because if you have a flat side, it's better to cut, because then you don't have to worry about it wobbling all over the place, all right? So again, the flat side down, we're going to make another cut through, all right? So now, you're going to come in at an angle and cut down, and again, you're coring the apple out, all right? Now we have the exposed center here, which is the core, and we're just going to cut that right off of that apple, okay? And dispose of that, all right? So now we have nothing left but the apple itself. So we're going to come in and do the same thing with the rest of the apple, and take that core on out. Again, show you this from the side. You're going in from the side and cutting down and through, all right? Taking that core out again, just like that. Now, this apple, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to slice it kind of thin. So what I'll do is I'll come in here like this, and I'll cut down between it, all right? Now we have a pretty thin slice, all right? Same thing again, going down through the middle, keeping your fingers out of the way. And again, with a sharp knife, this is relatively easy, and it builds your confidence because it slices the apple a whole lot easier, all right? So that one's a little bit thicker, so I'm going to come back in and do the same thing again and slice it down. So now we have the other half. Again, the same thing. Dispose of that core. The other half of the apple. Come back in and make those slices again. It's a little bit thick, so I'm going to go ahead and slice those down a little bit more. All right. So now we have our apple sliced and cooked. So I'm going to pick up all these fragments and seeds. dispose of them. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this over here to the one frying pan that we have, the smaller chartreuse, and we're going to just throw those right in. All right? So we're going to do the same thing with the second apple. The stove's not on yet, so we're going to come back in, we're going to do the same thing with the second apple. Riley's trying to see what I'm dropping on the floor. I'm not dropping anything on the floor, but he's just interested to see what he can scavenger. Again, slicing these apples up. And we're going to go ahead and load those back over here in the pan. Just like that. Now, for the onion. Again, we're going to take the outside off. Try to break that down just a pinch so it's easier to cut into. Take that outside skin off. Just like that. Give us a little bit of an opening. Then we're going to cut the end out. One side, two sides. And I mean, I know it's sort of common knowledge, but whenever I'm teaching this at work, a lot of guys have never cut an onion before. So we're just going to make a small slit in that, all right, to take the outside layer off, just like that. All right. Now, a couple different things you can do with the onion in order to dice it. Some people will turn it up on its edge and make some vertical lines. They'll quarter turn it and make more vertical lines, and then they'll come in and dice it this way. What I found is really easy is if you go ahead and slice it like you're going to make onion rings. So you're going to slice the onions through. That last one you're going to come in between your fingers. All right. Now, with that being said, you've already made those vertical lines. So what we're going to do, you want to get a little bit closer? On these rings, we're going to cut down through. Just like that. And then we're going to come to the side, and we're going to dice that onion up. And now you have diced onion. All right? So it's just that easy whenever you're dicing up an onion. Like I said, you can do it as a whole onion, but it's a whole lot more risky trying to get the onion cut. And I've just found it a whole lot easier just to dice up onions this way. So again, it's a little bit more time consuming, but again, you don't want to rush whenever you're using a very sharp knife because you can end up hurting yourself and cutting your finger. So that's not what you want in the kitchen, because if you cut your finger in the kitchen, then you're going to have an open wound, and that's not food safety. So a small piece we're just going to go ahead and dice up. So now we've got our onion diced, so we'll go ahead and put it over here with the apples. Now I'm going to wait for the juices and whatnot to come out of these apples and onions, so that way we won't have to worry about any of that stuff. There's a few little pieces here that we lost along the way. Throw those in there. Give ourselves a quick wash on the hands. Now, something that a lot of people might not know is how to get that good old onion smell out of your hands. Well, the trick of the trade is if you have something that's stainless steel, whether it be the blade of your knife or whether it be your sink, the one thing you can always do is just take your hands and rub them on the stainless steel. As long as they're a little wet, you can rub them on the stainless steel, and that onion smell should come right out. All right? So again, that's a trick of the trade. A lot of people don't know that one, but it's always nice if you're ever going out somewhere and you don't want to smell like onions. So clean our blade off real fast. All right. Now, the next thing to do is to get our loin chopped up. So I'll step over here to the fridge, because that's where we had our loin put. Thawed it out. Now what I'll do is, I've asked you guys to pick up a loin. I don't know if you guys had a long loin, an actual loin, or if you had a pork tenderloin. A little bit different. It's not the same kind of meat. Your pork tenderloin is going to come from a different part of the pig. It's closer to the inside of the pig, where the loin is further on the outside of the pig. So this is actually part of the loin. The loin that we have, we usually buy from Sam's, is about this long. And so what we'll do is we'll divide that up into different portions. So out of one loin, I think I did Kim's senior cookout day one day, or 1 year for seniors. And out of, was it 2 loins? I think we got over 100 chops.
Close to.
That we cut up for her senior day, which was kind of cool. But usually what we'll do is we'll get the loin and we'll cut it into 3 sections, such as like what you see here. So what we're going to do with this is, again, with a sharp knife, it's easier done, right? So you always have to have a sharp knife. Always make sure that your knife is sharp. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut these. And again, this could be, this is what a pork chop that you get from the store, right? So right there's 3 chops out of this one loin. And that one loin was $15. So I don't know what you guys spent on whenever you went out, if you went out to get this recipe together. But that's basically what we spent on almost, on that entire loin. So, and again, a pork loin is going to cost a little bit more than just a pork loin, because a tenderloin is going to be a little bit more tender, and it's going to be a little bit more desirable, I guess. So again, so now we've got the loin here. We're going to cut it up, and we're going to dice it. About 1-inch cubes, just like that. And we're going to do this with the entire thing. Now, if you guys got a loin whenever you went out, because that's what most stores will sell, unless you go to like Sam's, which is where we usually buy ours from, it should be about the same size as what I have. So we're cooking about with the same amount of product here. So. Has anybody been asking any questions?
Not yet.
Kim's been my photographer. She's the one actually filming this for me. So if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and ask, and she'll just refer them to me, and I'll answer them for you the best I can. So I was thinking after tonight, the next week, we might be doing a baked brie wheel with the mango chutney, which I know we've had before. So I might be looking at that if you guys would be interested. And we will talk about that more on Facebook. But if you want to leave a comment now and let me know if it would be something you'd be interested in, then we can start looking towards that for next week.
I've had 2 yes to the cheese and mango.
Okay, sounds good. So that's relatively a very inexpensive one. We learned that appetizer, so that would give you a main course with an appetizer. Which would be kind of
we've got a request for a fish dish as well.
Okay. How would you guys feel about, we can either do swordfish or we can do scallops. Scallops is very easy to prepare.
So Missy asked what you were making tonight.
Tonight, this is a unconstructed pork, Hasselback pork loin. And so it's going to be, again, very easy to do. We've got,
it's a recipe you created.
Yeah, and guys, I'm going to post this on Facebook for you guys. This is one that we saw a recipe that called for a Hasselback pork loin. And to be honest with you, it just seems so much work, because you have to make the slits into the pork loin, then you have to cut up the apples and the onions, then you have to stack them in the pork loin. It was just like, why not just unconstruct it and then cook it? And it was just so much easier for me. So it just seems so much more pliable, so that's what I was looking to do.
So this is considered fall pork, so it's going to be an It's really good in the fall, but it's, you know, I like it anytime. But it's going to consist of apples, onions, pork, cinnamon, and honey.
A lot of flavors that you don't think might match.
And my mom's cute thinking that you use recipes.
Well, she knows I cook off the sleeve. That's what she's laughing about. And you guys will see that here in a minute whenever I get into this and actually throw this all together. So, okay, so
it's pretty sweet, miss. I'll admit that, but it's like a good, like, I mean, it's still pretty savory though as well. Like it's hard to describe. You'll have to just make it.
So in this, what we're doing is we're going to go ahead and get those in there. And again, the best part about a wooden spoon, a big wooden spoon, like I said, I make this with my roux for my gumbo. I make this for a whole bunch of different stuff with my roux, with my mac and cheese. I use a big wooden spoon because the best part is once you get this in here and turn this on, then all I have to do is just let that sit right there. I don't have to worry about it melting or anything in the pot. It's just good to go. So that's cooking. So I'm going to go ahead and get my apples and onions going. So now the reason why I'm using, the reason why I'm using,
and anyone with a dog knows that they can be a complete vulture.
Yeah, but onions are not a good situation for doggies. The reason why I'm using a rubber spatula or not a rubber spatula, but a plastic spatula in this frying pan is because, again, I'm looking at Teflon. So I don't want to scratch that Teflon and screw it up. So I'm going to go ahead and let that start cooking.
We've had a request for scallops, just FYI.
Awesome. Sounds good. So probably what we'll do then, if we do the scallop dish, we'll do some fried scallops along with maybe a warm Cobb salad, which is really good. So I'll be kicking around some recipes though, try to keep things down to a minimum. There is an Italian sausage tortellini soup that I posted the other day on Facebook that we had here at the house, which is one of our absolute favorites. There's a lot of ingredients to it, but it's all stuff that you can find real easily. So it's.
They asked what kind of apples you were using.
Okay, so like I annotated in Facebook whenever I gave out the
not everybody got
ingredients. Yeah, not everybody got it. The things I use mostly are either Red Delicious. What I used tonight was Jazz apples. At Kroger's, they were 2 for $1. So I didn't think it was, nor was it 2 for 50 cents.
2 for $1.
2 for $1. So I didn't think it was too bad. So yeah, that's usually what I use whenever I'm making something that's something I want a little bit of a sweet note to and not a tart, like a Granny Smith. Granny Smith are great whenever you're making like an apple pie. But tonight, since we're trying to keep it sweet, I wanted something like a Jazz or Red Delicious. So how many of you guys are actually cooking along with me tonight? And like I said, if you guys just wanted to show up and watch the video too, that's awesome. I'm just glad you guys are here with me. So now we've got the apples and the onions going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my honey, just to make sure it doesn't get too burnt on the bottom or sticky. And this is where my mother-in-law comes in and says I'm following recipes. So as you're seeing, I'm just squeezing this in here. Like I said, it's off the cuff. I just want to give a little bit of base down there to the bottom so that starts melting for me. It starts caramelizing this.
Belinda's cooking a long wheel, but different.
But different? Awesome.
No worries, Belinda. There's no judgment.
No, ma'am. I'm just glad you're here and cooking. So does 5 o'clock work well for everybody? That is my next big question for you guys.
Honey to taste, LOL, from my mother.
Yep, honey to taste right now, and like I said, we're going to be adding some more here in just a few minutes. So, Now pork, whenever you're cooking it, actually should be long about maybe 145. If you're cooking like a pork chop, that should be the minimum internal temperature.
So, Darlene, we had trouble with Zoom. That's why we're on Facebook Live. Sorry about that. We're still new to Zoom.
We may figure it out by next week.
And they said 5 works.
Okay, good. So we're cooking these in 2 different pans, and here in a few minutes we're going to bring them back together in the big pan. So that's why I had you bring up 2 chartreuse or 2 high-walled frying pans.
Oh, your mom says you need a mic.
Oh, can't you hear me?
I'll try to get closer.
Fine.
Well, Miss, we'll make sure to put the ingredients out beforehand, and maybe we'll just do Facebook Live from now on. It might be a little easier.
Yeah, it might be easier. So we're going to cook down these apples and onions until the onions are sort of see-through, and the apples are sort of gotten soft for us. So
Belinda will do Facebook Live, and then they can just join, or just have them add Joe as a friend. You're getting requests from Texas.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, since that's cooking a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of honey to the pork.
Might need to open our new honey, huh?
No, it's just slow. And again, all I'm trying to do is just really break this up a little bit on the bottom and caramelize it just a bit. That honey's melting down. See, now I've got a little bit of a layer down there. So it's loosened everything and decaramelized my pan. My onion is becoming transparent. My apples are getting sort of soft for me. So here in a few minutes we will put some cinnamon on those. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper now. Seasoning, whenever you guys are cooking, you have to realize that whenever you season things at the beginning, see all this steam's coming up, and so some of that will actually evaporate and I'll lose some of my seasoning. Or if I'm cooking something that I need to drain, then I need to make sure that I'm not seasoning it before I drain it, or else I'm throwing a lot of that seasoning down the drain with the juices. So since we aren't going to drain this off, I can go ahead and season it now since it's halfway cooked, and I won't lose a lot through evaporation. Alrighty. We're going to grab our cinnamon.
And again, Mom, there's no measuring. You see it and feel it.
And you smell it, and it smells amazing. Now, whenever I did the Jamaican seafood medley, I did actually do measurements because I didn't want to goof that one up my first time. But I made this a couple times, so I sort of know what's going on with it. So. All right, now, this has got a little bit of decent liquid in it. It's come out of the pork, and I've also got the honey in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and throw in our apples with it. So. Turn that burner off. Oh my. I wish you guys could smell this. Again, some flavors that you would never dream go together with the apple, the pork, and the cinnamon and the onion. Again, it's just a very fallish type of meal. Makes you always have that good home cooking feeling. It's good stuff. We'll add a little bit more honey.
Darlene, we usually serve it with like a mashed potato or a baked potato or something like that.
Asparagus.
Asparagus, like a vegetable, something. It's not like really over rice or over anything like that. It's just...
No, this can pretty much stand by itself. If you want a side, you can do a side. That's great. Like I said, asparagus is a good one. And if you guys would like to know my secrets and thoughts about cooking asparagus, let me know, and I'll do that as a side one day. I was even thinking about actually doing an appetizer course one day and doing 2 or 3 at a time so you guys can get an idea about some appetizers.
Joe and I have differing opinions on what a side is. You're right, miss. It is a good standalone. Like, it doesn't necessarily need something.
No.
But I grew up with having like a green vegetable and a potato or some kind of starch, and Joe did not, and so we differ on that quite often.
Mine was usually a cheeseburger and tater tots watching the Cosby Show in front of the TV at night. Sorry, Mom. That's the truth.
Somebody is requesting some asparagus tips at some point.
Awesome. So, like I said, we'll do an asparagus as a side one night. Relatively easy. I usually blanch it out the first section on the stove top in some boiling water. And then I will flash it in some ice water. Set it out on a sheet pan. Season it with salt, pepper, maybe a little bit of Parmesan. And bake it for about 10-15 minutes at about 350, and you're good to go. But like I said, we'll do that as a side one day so you guys can get an idea on that.
Nicole, that's why Mark is my spirit animal, because we're kind of the same. Only I just don't always get that all the time.
Well, guys, that's it. That is fall pork. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can take the time sometime to get the ingredients and fix it if you haven't. I wish this was smell-o-vision. You guys could smell this great cinnamon and honey flavor coming up out of the stovetop. Again, I appreciate you guys joining in. It's been a fun evening. I'm hoping to take some snapshots of this as we went along and send my guys, because you know right now I'm doing everything from distant learning, which is sort of different for me. But next week, hopefully on Thursday, we'll come back together and we'll do a baked brie roll with a mango chutney. So that's a fun time to do. So look forward to seeing you next week. And again, thank you for coming and cooking with Chip. We'll see you guys soon.
So Missy, blanching it makes it a little crispier than if you just bake it normally. Like, so it's actually a really good kind of way, like, and it's super easy. I find that I can't jack it up, and usually I jack up asparagus like none other. So enjoy, and we'll see you guys next week. Riley is right here with his rope because that's his one true love next to Joe. So but yeah, thank you guys, and like I said, next week we'll be back again. Thanks for coming. I know, Bree, we miss you too. So, can't wait until our next dinner party. So hopefully soon, because this quarantine is terrible. I hate it. So, love you guys. We'll see you soon.